I'm here at the Western Spirit Museum in Scottsdale, and I was so fortunate to run into the artist, William Matthews, who has this huge show, which is going to be up for almost a year, really, right?
It is. It's a full year.
For a year. So I've seen it before, but I wanted to take the time and let William kind of tell you about this amazing exhibit. Obviously, it's a lifelong, composition, a retrospective.
Far.
Yes, so far.
Yeah, still young.
that you still so we're just kind of starting it as paint. So maybe I'll let you lead, and we'll look at some of the great things in the show.
Yeah, well, this the primary focus of this show is watercolor, which is what I do primarily. And these are the materials. We're starting with the most basic materials: tubes of paint, brushes, a palette, an actual working palette that I use regularly, and a sketchbook. And it's open right now to a little sketch from the Taj Mahal.
I was going to say, it looks like India.
Yeah, it's India. Well, I travel a lot, and traveling and painting is something that I believe in and something that I love to do. So.
And you can see it in the show, because when you look at this show, you see lots of images from lots of different places, and different countries, different ideas. I think the thing that blew me away about the show the most was the variety of things you did, from big ties to your posters to music albums. So yeah, let's just see. So this is kind of
by the
way,
so if you look down the stairs here, you can see 3 of my giant neckties. Those are 7 feet high.
Yes, and I think there's at least 2 of them in the Booth Museum.
There's 3 of them.
3 in their permanent collection.
Yeah, in their permanent collection, which is really exciting. So I started out doing record album covers, 1970. And here's a wall of 45 of some of the album covers that I've done. I've probably done 200 covers, but I picked these for their breadth and variation. And the first one I did right here was Dan Hicks and his Hot Licks, 1971, and Leo Kottke. And Leo was actually just here a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, well, and did he come because he wanted to see?
Well, he was playing 2 nights over at the MIM, the Musical Instrument Museum, one of our favorite places in the world.
Well, you also did Michael Murphy.
I've done most of Michael Murphy's
our
covers.
friend Larry Kanzler, who did the music for Wildfire, Larry.
Yes. The Ballad of Calico.
Yes,
Larry did all of the arrangements on Calico.
And he is on a podcast that I did, as well as William Matthews is one on my podcast. So if you want to learn more, go to there.
Exactly.
So, all right.
And then I've done a ton of posters, and here are 25 posters from all different kinds of events. A lot of Telluride Bluegrass Festival, but Cowboy Poetry Gathering, and a number of other things. Posters that have been tipped into albums. Yeah,
I love this William Matthews hats. Can you tell me about that one? What do you remember?
Well, I do. Yeah, actually, that was I did a whole show on hats and headwear, and that was when Barack Obama was running for president, and that painting of a jockey with the giant scale of the O behind him was, for me, symbolic of Barack Obama running for president.
Oh, interesting.
So that's where that painting came from.
And people who don't know it, he's known for his own iconic imagery of a hat, kind of like this.
And hats, yeah.
Yeah, you can literally pick out William Matthews walking down the street. That's a good thing, in my opinion.
Predictable.
But that's a good thing.
Okay.
It is. That's how we actually, the first time we were here, my son goes, "Oh, there goes William Matthews," because he saw your hat.
That's funny. That's really funny. So anyway, yes, and so everything has an idea, and everything has a story, and
a meaning.
And a meaning.
Yes.
And I had done a whole series of paintings of horse racing from all over the world, and that was part of that at that moment.
That one's particularly striking.
So in red, white, and blue, and so many things that nobody,
and you wouldn't know that unless you get the rest of the story.
Unless you got the firsthand.
Yeah, exactly.
The tour. Okay. Follow me.
Yes.
So this was actually my very first show in Larimer Square. This was the poster for it.
And that's in Denver.
1973 in Denver, in Larimer Square. Dana Crawford, who had developed it, asked me to do a show of paintings, which I had never done.
Wow.
And I ended up doing, because I'd been in LA doing album covers, I'd been painting lettering onto, I started painting lettering onto paintings. So these are two of those paintings from that show. You know, they're early, but I had them.
Yes.
So there they were. But I've continued to add lettering to paintings over the years because I find it interesting.
Well, I think one of the interesting things when I look at a lot of this is that I can see that they're in your collection. And to me that says you're starting off early. This is 73?
This is 75. This was 73, that's right.
So even at that time, you're clearly thinking, maybe I'm wrong, but I would think you're thinking legacy, that there is something, this is a life, I'm going to make sure I keep these pivotal moments.
And for my family, for my kids, and for my family.
Yeah, that's unusual.
And
I wish more artists would do that.
Yeah, it's really important. So there have been a lot of I've sold some paintings that I knew were going to come back to bite me, but in general, I've kept many things
that meant something
to me.
Smart.
Yeah.
Really smart. And it allows us to have this.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. This I did in 1975 when I first started living in Europe, and I remember sitting on this stone in this churchyard, and I lived in that town for almost a year. Yeah.
There's a memory or two.
Yeah, it was great. And then I started, so in 1983, I started going to the Cowboy Poetry Gathering, and I started to meet buckaroos. And this was one of those first paintings from that period of time. And I didn't really know how I was going to use color. So most of these paintings are only two colors. They're only ultramarine blue and burnt umber mixed together for values. So I started painting in value, and then slowly started adding some color in. But I wanted to put in this painting as symbolic of that period of time.
And what year was this, approximately?
Well, I don't know. Maybe this was 1986.
Yes, because you've kind of been known for that.
Something like that, yeah.
Sensibility of the buckaroo, whatever you want to.
And also, because I'd been living in Europe and I'd been studying traditional English watercolor, and they were using beige paper and highlighting with white. I started, that made sense to me, so I took that technique and applied it to Western paintings. So I really, developed these, like this painting down here at the end, on beige paper, which I have made for me, Twin Rocker, and highlighting it with white. That's a traditional technique that I learned by studying the great watercolorists in 19th century in England. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Using type again as sort of an edge, adding edge to a painting. Obviously, cowboys aren't thought of as being environmentalists, but they actually are more
absolutely. They're tied
deeply,
to the land.
They're tied to the land, and they're caretakers of the land in ways that people don't expect and don't acknowledge.
Yeah.
So
that's because they haven't been around cowboys.
Exactly.
That's really why.
That's exactly right. Yeah. These are cowboy paintings from fairly early on, always trying to synthesize and simplify and make things iconic and elemental, so that there's nothing wasted. I mean, this right here is sort of a takeoff of a Chinese character, and because I think of one of the biggest influences on my Western paintings is Sumi and the great Ming landscape painters, and so I use characters in a number of different ways, and that's what that is. That's about a Chinese character. So moving into horse racing, this is John Ox, one of the great trainers in Ireland. A work saddle. This is Tony Schutte, a great wife of my great friend Larry Schutte right there in the beginning, and you know, symbolic of the families that I've, you know, in a way grown up with and known and stayed with and ridden with and spent a ton of time with. So, and I haven't painted a lot of women on ranches, but Tony is one of my favorite, and she's a wonderful watercolorist too, by the way.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw this show, that was one that actually stuck out in my mind of just being a brilliant painting.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Again, you know, using symbols, you know, propane tanks, and using the shape of that dome in repeated ways.
Yeah, and does it tie into the hat?
Absolutely,
and to
the hat
mountain?
and the mountain
Yeah.
and every, you know, it kind of,
Yes.
you know, for me, that's what makes an interesting painting.
Yeah, composition.
Yeah. And as we move into the West, how the land has changed. So, you know, this is an oil refinery north of Denver, and I wanted to use a cowboy reminiscing about that land when it was flat and full of cattle.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that I'm anti-technology or oil. I mean, I put gas in my car just like the rest of us mostly. But it's something that is concerning. You know, obviously the environment is all we have.
Right.
So we have to be.
And when you see
thoughtful.
something like this, because sometimes I'll see these, you know, very industrial type imagery out on the plains, and I still find them, just from a creative standpoint, to be quite captivating.
Oh, they're beautiful.
You know, just because of the structure and maybe the clouds coming out, and I'm drawn to them, even though I may not like what it's doing and that to the land or anything else, but I do find them captivating.
No, I love the architecture. You know, it's architecture as need, and you know, they're not designed as blueprints. They're designed because we need a tank there, because it needs to run into this tank, and it needs to, and I love that too. And I've painted it a lot. And as you'll see down here, I've done a lot of industrial paintings.
Yes, this particular painting, I thought, for me, actually was one of the best pieces in the entire show.
This painting right here of Lou Hawkins?
I do. I just love it. I can't tell you why, but for me, when I saw the first show, I remember saying genius in my head.
Thank you.
What's the story on this particular
Well,
piece?
this is a guy, Louis Hawkins, who's from, God, I think he's from Indiana somewhere, but he was the cow boss out on the IL, and he was a young guy, but he was a great cowboy. He was somebody who became a good friend of mine, and somebody I just always enjoyed painting and writing out with and spending. I mean, I would spend, you know, 10 days, 2 weeks out there with those guys on the wagon.
Oh, wow.
And Louis was always.
And so that gives you this sense of really knowing the
Completely.
person. And that's what must be what it is, because you have captured the sense of who this person is.
Yeah.
I can feel it when I see it.
Yeah.
That there is something there that you know, you've seen that look more than once and we're able to capture it clearly.
Yeah, he's a really interesting man. I did a whole series of Percheron horses in sort of abstract shapes and forms, and this is one from that period.
Beautiful.
So a lot of the paintings in here really symbolize a period or a group of paintings, you know. I mean, I did probably 50 paintings of Percherons, black Percherons against the snow. And
beautiful.
they were really interesting. So this comes into some of the industrial paintings. So this is a building, this is a granary, the same building right here, out in northern Nevada. And I discovered this building on a ranch, which I'd never seen a granary like that. And it was kind of a folly. They never could use it because the guy who built it didn't get it right. He didn't realize there was never going to be enough water to grow grain.
Right.
So the thing still sits there. So I've painted it now for more than 40 years in different times of year, different times of day,
that's fine.
and over 40 years.
Maybe
so here are two.
Maybe that's why it was supposed to be there. It's not for that, but maybe
well,
for
exactly.
You. We want to be spiritually, whatever. I mean, maybe there was a reason.
So this is, I did a whole series on steel,
Yes.
on steel mills all over the country.
Yeah,
and this
wow.
is just one of many.
Yeah, you can feel the heat.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they are.
It's wild.
Palpable.
So let's go over here to the Grand Canyon, something that all of us have painted, all of us artists. These are two sketches I did down in the canyon on a float trip. Every one of your artists who have floated the Grand Canyon probably painted 9 things a day.
Yes.
Because you can't stop
Right.
painting. Everywhere you look
Right.
is a painting. So here are just 2 of them. And this is the canyon from on top.
Yes.
I did a show of paintings of Canyon de Chelly.
Yes.
Fell in love with Canyon de Chelly early on. And so this is part of that. This is Canyon de Chelly. This is, I think this is as well. I'll tell you a funny story about this. So at one point I did a big show in New Delhi through the American Embassy, and it was to coincide with George Bush coming to India. And there were 54 paintings in this show. And I was talking to this little kid, he was like 6. And I just happened to say, so what's your favorite painting? And he went, the one with the elephant. And I said, really, the one with the elephant? This one over here with an elephant? No. That one with an elephant? Because there were a lot of elephants in paintings. I said, show me. He brought me over to this.
Okay.
This was the painting of the elephant.
I can see it
that
now.
he loved.
Yeah, you can see the snout and the face and the eyes. And
6 years old.
that's so interesting.
Isn't that wild?
That is very interesting. We got to talk a little bit. I know we talked before last time I saw you, but this amazing
polytic,
yeah.
So this is a big collage of paintings of branding. You've been to a branding, I'm assuming. Brandings are big and chaotic, and there are a lot of people there, and there's the smell of burning flesh and burning hair. And they're kind of noisy. There's always mothers who are really upset because their babies are not there and they don't know where they are. So there's all these things going on at once. The cowboys love them just because it's a real time to get together and bond.
Right, and it's hard work.
And it's work. And it's usually a lot more guys than you need, but it's always a big get together. It's a reason to rejoice for this way of life that these guys don't necessarily get a lot of moments to rejoice in. So I wanted to kind of capture that in one big piece, and so I did this, and I did another, 8 or 10 other paintings, and we moved them. We actually put them all on magnetized board and then moved them all around on a magnetic whiteboard to figure out how things would fit together.
Yes.
So I started, putting things together, and a lot of these images are all connected, and people actually enjoy looking to see how many connected paintings there are.
Yes.
And there are many.
Yes, I mean, and you don't know, they may see an elephant, right?
Well, anything's possible,
that's the
apparently,
thing. You view things differently. Now, when you do a painting like this, a lot of work, a lot of pieces, do you make it thinking, okay, this is something I want to sell to a museum, or this is for myself, or is it just...
No, I didn't really make it for... I actually did it for the Denver Art Museum did a big show on me about 10 years ago. Yes. And I made it, and they had a big wall like this that needed something giant. Yes. So I thought, okay, here's my opportunity to do something grand and ambitious.
Yeah, that makes sense, because as just a commercial event to do, sometimes these can be more difficult to try to find to place.
Well, I still own it.
Yeah.
So
but again, and it came here.
And it would have been for sale had, several guys tried to figure out where they could put it and couldn't. Nobody's ever bought it, and I'm okay with that because I still have it and I can show it here.
At a museum like this, and it's a
museum
showpiece.
here. And it needed, as soon as I walked into this room, I knew that this
Yes.
would be there.
Yes.
I knew that that would be
Yeah.
there. And this was the first thing we hung.
I
When it
believe
was all
that
walled
completely.
off, I said-
Because you have to almost hang it first to figure out what the rest is going to go.
To see how to balance and the
Yes.
rhythm of everything
Yes.
else.
And what you're going
Yeah.
to counterbalance it with.
Yeah. So, I mean, down here, there's a couple of, I mean, this is the cover of the catalog, kind of symbolizing the passage of time and how things are racing forward.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And this is Monument Valley.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Grand Canyon. Again, some smaller ties.
Yes.
I did many ties. So I
Yeah.
did 85 or something ties, which I still own probably 70.
But yet you probably wear a bolo.
And I wear bolos. Exactly.
Makes sense. You're a
That's
Westerner.
right.
You're a man
Well,
of the West.
I have a couple of cool short ties too.
Yeah.
That I will occasionally wear.
Yeah.
But in general, I love bolos,
Yeah,
and
me
I've
too.
got so many great bolos. So then we kind of roll into various paintings with various ideas all the way around. I mean, some of these are paintings that I had to work hard to hold on to. That I had people really wanting to buy them, and
Yeah, that's an easy sell.
that's an easy sell.
Yeah.
I know. And there's a painting not unlike this hanging in the Phoenix Art Museum that's up.
Yes.
That amazed me last time I saw it.
Yeah, they
It's up.
usually have it up.
Well, that's great because
Yeah.
watercolors, they're always rotating them out,
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Just from
So this was, one of those paintings that was in about 4 shows, this bunkhouse nap, and I loved it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to pull it off the market.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to keep it. This was the frontispiece in Annie Proulx's book, Close Range, that included Brokeback Mountain. So that has kind of an ominous feel
And are you
to it.
still doing illustrations for certain type of events? Somebody goes, I really want you to do this for me, whether it might.
Well, I'll do a poster,
Yeah.
like the Telluride Bluegrass poster.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think of them necessarily as illustrations. I think of them as a poster,
Yes.
as something that's
Yeah.
going to be printed for that reason. Yeah, I have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
I love, I love doing projects, and I love collaborating with events, and I love album covers. I still do album covers. I'm working on a few, and I mean, I enjoy projects.
Yeah.
Is at the end of the day, I don't think of art as being this. I have to just produce paintings by myself in my studio, and then they come out, and then they're
Right.
that's not. I mean, for me, it's always been. Let's talk about a project. Because I just love that.
You're a curious person.
I'm a curious person,
That's
and I want
that's why.
something new and different all the time.
Yeah.
This is a painting of, there's a black cowboy friend of mine up in Wyoming, and I've painted him a lot. This was hanging in our mayor's office in Denver, African-American Michael Hancock, and this was hanging in his office for 12 years. And he used it as a sort of conversation starter when people came from all over the world.
Yes.
He could talk about the black cowboys and something that was close to his heart.
Yes, and a good percent of the number of cowboys were people of color, for sure.
Absolutely.
And still are, by the way.
And still are.
Yeah, that's
Some, it's not the same, but it's.
I was just down to Wickenburg, and we were watching, roping events, and there was, half a dozen Dene families.
good.
Watching their,
Oh,
their husbands.
Well,
and their
those
kids.
guys, of course, that's what they do.
Oh, the Navajos are fantastic.
This was from I did a series of paintings of the Amish and Shaker. This is a Shaker barn over here. But I did a bunch of paintings of Amish farmers.
I think I remember when you did that series.
Yeah.
It seems like that would fit for what you would find interesting.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. This is from my paintings of India.
This is Canyon de Chelly?
Yes, it is. This is Canyon de Chelly. This is, it's this lovely female elephant, and they paint them beautifully, and they take such good care of them. And, for me, it was such a kind of gentle homage
Yeah, and again, it has these rounding things that you find compelling, I think.
And my daughter owns this.
Yes.
And she loves it.
Yes, I'm sure she does.
Yeah.
She probably loves all yours.
Well, not necessarily.
No?
2 paintings from Italy.
Yes.
The Doge's Palace and Venice. Mm-hmm. This is a painting from sailing up in the San Juans.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
And, you know, what's not to love about that?
Yeah,
I mean, it goes back to the environment. Mm-hmm. Here's a painting from Egypt when I, you know, because I started painting Arab communities early on, and I love that, and I love traveling like that. My grandfather would travel, and he would send us back drawings of heads, of turbans, of, you know, of elephants and things, you know, little pencil drawings, and he'd send, you know, 6 or 8 of them back to us, and I think in a way that kind of gave me the spark.
I'm sure.
To make me realize that I could tie traveling in with painting.
And I'm sure when you do these pieces, there's a part of you thinking about your grandfather.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These are Uyghurs from Kashgar.
Yes.
And you know, the Uyghurs have been so badly treated, and so I've done a whole series of paintings of Uyghurs.
Yes.
And if I can flaunt them, I will.
Good.
Setting tiles. Here's a fisherman
I love that one.
with cormorants.
Yeah.
And you know, they tie a reed around the cormorant's neck.
Yes.
And they send them out and they capture a fish and bring it back, but they can't eat it because they've got this thing around their neck.
Yeah.
So let me just show you a few more things.
Okay.
Have we still got a few minutes?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Okay.
So, hi. So here are some fishing paintings, you know, love fly fishing.
Yes.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
And this is fishing in the Adirondacks.
Yes, beautiful.
This is fishing up in Canada, up on the Cascapedia, which is one of the great old-time rivers. This is the Fire Hole, which is a great place to fish.
So when you're doing these fishing paintings and you're up there, are you also fishing?
Yeah.
Good.
Although I'm, you know, I love fishing, but I also love painting, obviously.
Yes.
And so I, you know, I'll fish for a while and then I'll paint. And I end up painting
more
than I'm fishing.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, I'm just fishing.
Yeah.
But in general, you know, and these places are so beautiful and so, you know, they just lend themselves to paintings that you know, when I was up there, that's
gorgeous.
what I was doing.
Yeah.
And some more paintings from Yellowstone. Here's fishing. You know, I don't think I have any fishing paintings from Colorado, even though we have the greatest fly fishing.
You do.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of them, but there's no.
But when you go
they
to
didn't make it to the show.
When you go somewhere else, it allows you to have the time to paint. Otherwise, you just go fish.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's right. Or just paint.
Yeah. Or just
so
paint.
Here are catalogs that we've printed for various shows over the years.
Yes. Wow. Look at all this.
And, you know, I always thought it was really important to save for posterity these shows.
Yes.
Because otherwise they get sold and they go away, and
yeah.
you never ever have any record of them.
And that's an advantage too, I think, because you have your own gallery in Denver, and you can think not only as an artist, but more importantly, when it comes to this stuff, as an archivist, a historian, and a gallerist.
Yeah, and I love design and I love printing. And I feel like it's important to put money into those things. And I've had many heated conversations with a lot of artists who just didn't see the purpose of it.
Yeah.
And I've always felt it was important.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Here's more painting materials. Here's sketchbooks, diary.
Nice.
Kept a lot of diaries. Here's the first sketch of that.
Oh yeah.
Of that painting over there, because I carry these books around.
Oh yeah, those are wonderful.
All the time, you know.
Oh yeah.
I mean.
And do you draw and paint in them daily?
Ideas. They're with me every day.
It's your iPhone.
Yeah. Well, it's my way of sort of capturing ideas.
That moment.
I'm constantly
Yes.
jotting things down.
Yes.
This was a project that just out of the blue, I wanted to do a palette
on a belt buckle.
On a belt, as a belt buckle. I didn't want kind of the big Western cowboy,
Right.
But I thought this would be cool.
And is that yours?
Yeah, well, we still have a few left, but
Yeah.
but we did I don't know 25 or something.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
cool, and I had them all inlaid by Navajo guys.
Yeah, that's cool.
And Shiprock.
Yeah. That's that curiosity again, wanting to try something new, creation.
Yeah, always. I mean, right now, well, you know.
Yeah, and look at all these books.
So
you did.
book covers.
Tons of book covers.
Here's a stamp from Canyon de Chelly, and these are all of the suggestions that I send in for artwork for a stamp. So when you do a stamp, the artwork has to be no bigger than 5 times the size of the stamp. So oddly enough, this is finished art, even though it's the size of a postcard.
Yes, I get it. I understand.
And here's the first day cover.
Yeah, that's very
The
cool.
etching.
That had to be a proud moment.
Oh man, it was great. I mean, we did an opening ceremony down at the Thunderbird in Chinle. We had
That's
guys
super cool.
had flown out from Washington. We had dancers. We had 14 code talkers, and fry bread and all the whole sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
And that was a while ago, because we have
And that was a while ago.
no code talkers left, basically.
Yeah, this was 1994, so that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was, and there was nobody there with me. None of my friends were there, no family, and I couldn't share it with anybody except the people that were down there. And now you.
And the world.
And the world.
And it was in Canyon de Chelly.
And the world, exactly.
Which is
It was
like
in
one
Canyon
of
de
the
Chelly.
most magical. Yeah, it is.
It just is. I know.
no,
I
it is.
agree. Here are a number of book covers from over the years. This is a book I did with Arion Press with Tom Stoppard and his wonderful play
God, that's
Arcadia.
a beautiful cover.
And this was, and Bill Dorrance was the great horseman, the great horse whisperer.
Yeah. Well.
And he finished that book at 93 and turned to Leslie and said, "Okay, I'm done. How do I die?" And 4 days later, he was dead.
Guess that's how you do it.
And that's how he did everything.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, he
good for
had
him.
such
Vision.
control and such clarity about everything he did. It's the way he approached horsemanship.
Yeah.
He just observed what a horse wanted, what it needed, how to get it to work with you. I mean, Bill was just an extraordinary man. He was like a holy man.
Well, you're pretty extraordinary as well.
Well,
And
thank you.
I really appreciate you taking this time to talk about
My
your work.
pleasure.
And if people want to see this, they can see it here, and maybe this will travel. Maybe this
Hopefully.
will show in a year. It will travel. It's a fantastic museum
Yeah.
show. And then if people want to see you, they can go to your website and your gallery in Denver, right?
That's right.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for taking the time.
You bet.
That was fantastic.
Oh,
Thank you.
good.